Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Nyasha, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. We appreciate that. Joining me today is, hold on, let me come with the sounds. Hold on. Look, yeah, I've seen people say that they can't go through an F1 weekend without this person's updates. Anytime you're on the timeline and you're like, what's that Mercedes news? Who's that bringing it? It's this person right here. I even stopped looking at the follower count now. I can't even, do you know what I mean? The follower count's too much. Don't even watch that no more. Welcome to the show. Oh my God, and again, welcome to the show. Deni, aka FIA Girlie, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hello. Thank you. What an introduction. You got me so I'm sweating. Thank you. Hello. This one's so different. Hello. Thank you for having me. I feel like I haven't done one of these in so long. I was just like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? Am I going to do well? But I'm back. I'm great. Yeah. This is the first time. This was first podcast I did, and now returning from a big hiatus, returning with Quick Stop F1 just became a tradition now.
It makes sense. Look, we had to have you on. For everyone wondering, Tandy is currently under the weather slightly. She's okay. You don't have, I mean, if you want to send her messages of, get well soon, feel free, but it's nothing serious. She's taking some time to recover, and she wouldn't be 100% if she came on. And you know what, as much as she makes me out to be a dictator, I said, you know what, Tandy, you take some time, you rest, you get yourself better. So she'll be back midweek for some kind of content. So don't worry about her. And also, worry about Quick Stop F1. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Make sure you give us a 5-star review on Spotify. Make sure you're giving us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you want an ad-free stream, you can do so by joining our Patreon for the price of coffee. No adverts, but obviously if you want to pay a little more, there's exclusive content and merch. Deni. The Spanish Grand Prix. Hello. The Spanish Grand Prix brought with it an incredible amount of overtakes. We saw 107 overtakes, obviously, which feels like a feast compared to what we experienced at Monaco. What were your thoughts on the Grand Prix? I guess, and I guess the fact that they took off that last chicane, and it does seem to have made it less of a difficult circuit to pass with that almost flat kind of last two turns. But what did you make of the Grand Prix? I guess before we get into the minutiae of the detail of the Grand Prix.
The Grand Prix in general, for me, was really nice. But I feel like I can be very biased when I say Grand Prix is very nice because I'm obviously updating people as it goes and I'm listening to two people on radio. So for me, whenever there's action for Mercedes, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. This is so nice. So obviously on that side, it was really great. But I feel like because there were cars on the back, there was action everywhere. So there was Lewis on top, and then you had Perez coming up, and then hopefully we were hoping Leclerc was also going to come up, which he did for a bit, but then he was just ignorant. So then I think in general the Spanish Grand Prix was actually really nice, and be down whoever said it wasn't nice. I really liked it.
And I think, look, I've watched it twice, actually. I watched it once extremely hungover yesterday, and then I thought, you know what, let me
watch it again.
Let me watch it again, because I was, to be fair, this is the first F1 weekend since we started the podcast, and probably for a long time, that I've not watched a single session all the way from the beginning. So I came in halfway through the race, still trying to catch my bearings. I didn't watch any practice sessions, and I didn't watch any of the qualifying. So
I remember you came on qualifying and you're like, guys, my mentions are flooded. What's going on? And everyone's just telling you, oh, wait, you asked something like, are we doing well in one of the sessions? And people are just like, well, brother.
Yeah, no.
It's not good.
Right? It was honestly, I was getting my updates from the timeline. I didn't even have time to scroll. So I was like, what's happening on Friday? And everyone's like, the car's not looking good. And then on Saturday, I was like, what's happening? And everyone just showing me the George and Lewis crash. And I'm like, what's going on?
That was disgusting.
That's crazy. And so then and then obviously Sunday we're looking at it now, and I come in halfway through, and Lewis is literally overtaking Sainz, and I was like, oh, this is good. We're in second place, very comfortable. So I guess one thing where we can start is the Mercedes upgrades. And I think, this is a slightly delayed kind of reaction to what we're kind of seeing at the moment. Mercedes bringing upgrades that we would have seen in Imola if it wasn't for, obviously, the situation in the Emilia-Romagna region and then them having to cancel the race. And then also we've got the situation where in Monaco, it's not a representative track where you look at upgrades. It's not really somewhere where you think, this is where we're seeing the performance of a car because it's Monaco. So this was the first real race we got to see the upgrades. Obviously we've got the side pods which will get all the attention, but obviously it's loads of other things as well. We've got the suspension and obviously changes to the floor as well. On first impressions, I guess, what are your thoughts on Mercedes and the upgrades that they've brought and the results that we saw this weekend, and I guess the pace that we saw this weekend from Mercedes?
So, first, I think first is just like finally being glad that, because it's not easy, I think, for engineers to, especially engineers that have won for so long, to be like, we got it wrong, we need to take a different development path. Even though like Lewis and like maybe George or Toto, whoever comes out and says to the media, oh yeah, we know when we get it wrong and we're able to admit that, it's really hard for you to actually get it through people's heads. So I think Mercedes for the longest time, they were like, we can do it. Let's just give it some time. We can push it. Let's just introduce this and that, because they did upgrade the car last season regardless. And like after that win, they were like, see guys, this is what we have. And obviously Spain last year as well was really great. So I think we finally, do you know what I'm saying? So I think like finally having them to say, we got it wrong, let's completely change it, and maybe have to like let go of that ego, because I think them changing, obviously they're side pods now, but they are following someone. They are following a direction that everyone else is taking, right? So that's a bit of like ego being deflated. So I'm just kind of like relieved, like, okay, I'm glad we got past that. Whoever spoke correctly, big up you. So that's good. But then there's that one thing that everyone's saying is we don't know until we know. Obviously Canada, Austria will be very big races that we actually have to see Mercedes perform, because last year Lewis came all the way back from the back to the top, and it didn't look like an easy job, right? It looked like an easy job even with a bad car. So I have to say, like, this is a track that we're used to. We know from the back of our hands because of testing. This is a track that Mercedes does well in. And the good thing for me is like removing that chicane kind of helped us, because before we'd rely on these hard braking zones, and now because when people saw it, we're like, oh, we're doomed. That straight line's going to be over for us. So it's a positive thing, and I think people haven't spoken about it, is the car does look less draggy. It looks less draggy. For sure. 100%, right? Because that straight would have killed us.
I think for me, the one thing that I saw when I came in my hungover state and I plonked myself on the sofa and I was watching Lewis go past Sainz, was like, my mind immediately went back to Miami, and I was like, it was impossible for us to do this in Miami. And now I'm looking at the car now, and it's catching and passing with relative ease. I'm looking at George fighting his way through, and yes, he came from 12th place, and we normally associate recovery drives from George with maybe some luck with the safety car, maybe some luck with strategy, but he overtook a lot of cars on his way through the grid, and
with
he did
ease.
that on and I think that was, for me, the biggest thing about that. Like, wow, this car doesn't seem as draggy. We are able to stalk and pass opponents, and then once we're in front in some clean air, we're putting in lap times which are consolidating the pace that we've got. So look, like you say, the thing is, Spain is a strong track, and I would say Spain is a strong track for us, so we can't get too excited, but the fundamentals of what we're seeing look for me, look really good.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say is like about upgrades is like, it's not just obviously, yeah, the whole package, but I think it's also nice to nitpick certain things. Like one, there was no bouncing. Last year, it was a good
Yeah.
race, yeah, but we were bouncing a lot. You couldn't even get the car all the way down. Throughout practice in Spain, the car was close to the track. And I even remember tweeting a side by side of our car and the Red Bull. So like we are low on the ground, something that we couldn't do before.
Yeah.
Less draggy, do you know what I'm saying? So I think like overall the upgrade, if it's not all of that, it's something, and it's getting us somewhere. And then from here, it's just like building on that. What are we missing? Where do we feel like there's not enough strength and performance? But for now, I think I'm really happy with what we saw, and the drivers felt that as well. Because I know, was it Monaco that Lewis said, oh yeah, I know a part that we can improve. Obviously, I'm not going to say it. And then now he wasn't necessarily on that, there's still stuff to improve. He was just like, this downright feels right. Like this feels like the car that we've wanted. And things coming in from the pipeline right now, because obviously they're still working on stuff, right? To come is just going to take us further up, you know? I'm happy.
I'm happy. You know what? Let's give a gunshot for that. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh my God! What? That's not what I wanted. Why is? I don't know. I don't know who that was. I don't know who that was. Try sneaking into the broadcast. I didn't press that button, bro. Unbelievable. But no. Honestly, for me, yeah, really good. Really good from the team. And I think I wanted to just quickly get your thoughts on something that Toto said in the post race, where he mentioned let me see if I can get out, but what he mentioned was that Mercedes have the strongest driver pairing. Was it Toto who mentioned that, or was it
Lewis said it as well?
Lewis said it. Sorry, it was Lewis who mentioned it. It was Lewis who mentioned it, I think, in his post-race interview, you know, saying, look, we've got the strongest driver pairing. If they have the car underneath them, you know, they'll be able to go and push the car in the right thing. And I think what is important for people to know about this upgrade is if they were able to develop it from Friday through to Saturday in that way and understand that in a 1 day period, imagine what they're going to be able to do from race to race to race to race to race with a car that is stable and right. Yeah. So I guess but do you agree that Mercedes have the strongest driver lineup on the grid?
Like all you have to do is look at the state of how we finished yesterday, because okay, granted, Ferrari did have their mishaps and their problems and all of that. Sainz couldn't cover Checo. They tried to fight for that. He wasn't even able to keep that P2. I don't know, whatever problems he had. Checo had, well, in theory, on paper, he has the same car Max is driving, right?
Yeah.
And
in theory,
he has the same car. Unless they comment, right? Because this is no. And I love this argument, because if you go and tell Max fans or any Red Bull fan that Checo has a different car, they say no, that they have the same cars, and Max is a very great driver, right? So on that same breath, Checo is driving the same car against George and Lewis. Let's use that argument, right? And he got absolutely owned by those Mercedes, right? Checo was, and I feel like, and everyone was absolutely waiting for George to be, and I remember my mentions, everyone was so tense, and they were like, is Checo going to catch up? Is Checo going to do this? Oh, Checo's coming, da 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 da. Because George was essentially, because Lewis had to manage, but then George couldn't necessarily say, oh yeah, I'm just going to manage. He had to push. And everyone was worried about what George wanted to do, because, you know, George, team orders, blah. But he had to push, right? He had to cover Checo at some point, all of that. And if George is pushing and Checo is attacking, Checo is essentially also pushing. If you can't catch them, they didn't catch. They didn't. So to answer your question with obviously this very long introduction, yes, I do think Mercedes has the strongest driver pairing at the moment, and I feel like they have the drivers that, when given the package, they absolutely obliterate everyone on that grid. Do you know what I'm saying? And if you are to put them side by side, I would say Lewis is a great opponent for Max, and George right now is showing himself to be a great opponent for Checo. And that is a top team, because who else is going to be there if Mercedes actually develops a car that is worth P2? No one.
No one at all. No one at all. And I think you put it so well. Look, Lewis and George extract the most out of the car more often than not, right? It's rare that, you know what? I think it's been a few races in a row now, actually, where something has happened and someone's gone out in Q2, right? But both drivers, each time that's happened, have managed to maximize where they've ended up after that. Yeah. What we've seen from Checo, look, Monaco, you start at the back. We all know you're
we'll forgive him for
fucked.
that.
You're but the terrorism that he was displaying on that track was not befitting of someone who is supposed to be, a top level driver.
True.
And then we get the same thing yesterday, where again, struggles in qualifying, really shouldn't have been in that position. And then you can't start a place ahead of George Russell and have George Russell finish a place ahead of you. You're on, I know there's not much tyre differential, but you're on newer tyres, soft tyres than George. Race to the finish, catch 6 seconds. Max
and
Verstappen.
A faster car.
And in a much faster car. Max Verstappen pulled out a 16.3 at the end. I don't like
that. Killed me.
On.
That killed me. And you know what it is when you're listening to Lewis and Bono talk about these laps? It's the most hilarious thing, because Lewis is always like, "Who has the fastest lap?" And Bono's like, Max has it, Lewis. And he's like, "Oh, can we go for it?" And he has to pause for a bit and be like, "I don't think so." And he's like, "Let me try." And this is like the second time this has happened. Like sometime, I think in a race before, Bono was like, "I don't think you have the capacity, bro. Like, I don't think that's what it is." You know what I'm saying? So like, Checo has that same capacity. When this man's pulling 16.3, Checo could at least, granted, he actually did, the 3 fastest time on the softs are Verstappen, Perez, and Lewis. But Perez wasn't. Yeah. Perez did a 16.666 and Lewis did a 16.676. So that's like 10 hundredths.
Yes, 100.
You can't be on that level. You can't be on a Mercedes that's just starting to be developed, and you're only doing that.
Yeah, no, you can't. Come on,
be serious.
We only
you know what I'm saying?
We've only just got the bandages off the BBL, bro. Like, we're not even fully in our form yet.
Not
like, do you know what I mean? Like, we're still struggling to sit down a little bit. Like, once we get into full form with the BBL, we'll be selling like BBL workout guides and all of that. You're done, Perez. You're out of it.
It's only our first day in OnlyFans, and we're already making a million.
Right?
No
we're
way.
Making a milli. You're struggling selling feet pics. Come on, Perez. Step it up.
No, and it's absolutely unacceptable. And like, it's not like, obviously, like Lewis, I put Lewis in like a higher pedestal. I'm like, the only driver right now that can fight with Lewis is Max, because of the rocket shit that he has. And like, obviously he has great abilities, a great driver, all of that. But for George Russell to school you as well, nah, something's out of line. Lewis has the absolute confidence and absolutely every right to go out and say, we have the best driver lineup. And George also came out and said, we develop faster than anyone else. And it just shows that. It's like, once they got their egos out of the way and they were like, okay, guys, we're wrong. Let's just follow this thing. Look at what they're doing. They already caught up to Ferrari.
Past them.
No way. Aston Martin slowly starting to see the fruits of what a Mercedes can do. Do you know what I'm saying?
Look, and I think I'll get to Aston Martin, but what I'll always say with Aston Martin, there was always a ceiling. I mean, Fernando Alonso has come out and said we've got updates coming at the next race, and we've got updates coming at the run after, and we're going to be even better than we were, but I think there's a limit. I did want to talk about Aston Martin, but I want to talk about Max Verstappen and Red Bull and Checo Perez. But I'll do that after these messages from our sponsors. You see that, Deni? You don't even realize now, man. We've got to put the sponsors in.
Is
Things
that
are leveled
ads?
up now. The ads. Got to stick the ads. Got to
That's
stick
so
the ads in right
cute.
there.
I love
They
it.
pay the bills. They pay the bills.
I love that.
Right. Big up Blue Wire Company as always. So, Max Verstappen's just won his 40th race, which is scary. Red Bull
He's
have won
tied with who? Senna?
He's close on that list. Mario, could you get the all-time winner list up for me, please? Thank you. He's up. Mario's like,
Are we on the pod or are ads running?
Yeah. No. Ads. No, we're live. We just insert them afterwards.
Oh,
we insert
right,
them afterwards.
right.
Chris does that afterwards.
Right.
So we'll get the winning list up in a second. But Max Verstappen's on 40
Senna
wins. Here we go.
Senna
Max
has 41.
There you go. So we're on a situation now where obviously Max has to be considered one of the greatest of all time with the amount of wins that he has. And he is on his way to a third title in a row. I think only Schumacher, Vettel, and Lewis and Fangio have won 3 in a row, if I'm not correct. So that's great for Max. Good for him. Happy for you. All of that. Is there a point? Do you see Checo Perez staying beyond this year at Red Bull? I guess if he continues to struggle in this way, and I guess, okay, let me give you a situation, a scenario. Okay. Let's say, and I'll try and say this without laughing. Let's say that the development punishment that was put on Red Bull due to the cost cap, which has given them effectively 10% less aero time, aero development time, on top of the fact that they finished first last year and the sliding scale of how much development everyone has. Let's say, as Christian Horner's mentioned before or whatever, it's going to hit them in the second half of the season, right? Which affects how they can develop this year's car and next year's car. Although I'm pretty sure they'd probably stop developing this year's car now. Let's say that affects them and Mercedes catch up to a point where, you know how it used to be with Mercedes at the front and Verstappen was in the middle of Max and Bottas?
Bottas, yeah.
If George and Lewis start getting in between Max and Perez on like a regular basis and start taking constructors' points off them, do you see a situation where Red Bull part ways with Checo Perez? And I guess if you do you think that they'll promote a Red Bull Junior into that seat, or do you think they'll again maybe go for someone more established to fill that seat?
I think like the market's really tight in F1. Like, I think F1 is one of the most predictable sports there is. Maybe I don't watch other sports, but F1 is very predictable. Like, you're able to see so much that where, like, you can't really, like, rumors aren't really just rumors. It's just awaiting confirmations because the paddock just speaks. So the market's tight. I do not see someone that is, not that no one's capable of, but I don't see anyone that is able to replace Checo at the moment, just because Checo is a very good number 2. And we need to remember which team we're talking about. This team isn't looking for someone to grow with them and, who is going to... Max is still young, if you think about it. Max is the future of Red Bull, and subsequent cars, Red Bull 20, 21, all the other cars are going to be around Max so long as he's able to bring that championship home. And fair enough, they are building one of the greatest driver, and he is going to be up there with a lot of them, right? So Red Bull is always going to make sure that whoever's next to them is going to help them bring the constructors, but if not bring the constructors, just defend Max as much as possible. And Checo kind of does a good job of doing that, right? Even though he doesn't have the greatest racecraft when it's, I guess, like Mercedes, any of that, right? He does. Yeah. If you think about damage limitation, I see him doing well. coming from wherever he came up to P4. So even though he's behind George, he's still for them. It's like great points. Okay, 11 to 4th. Thank you. He still did a great job. Do you know what I'm saying? And like in the eyes of Christian Horner, even though that's not that's not P2 and that's not winning the championship for them. It's still good points, and it's still making sure Max is still getting the championship. And I don't remember a time where Christian Horner or Helmut Marko or anyone from Red Bull camp came out and said constructors is so important to us. I mean, we've had these conversations before. These guys will throw away a second driver, put the second driver aside if that means getting Max that championship. So I don't think Checo is going to be replaced anytime soon. One, because there's no one to replace him, because everyone else that would be in that seat is going to want to be a world champion. Everyone else that is on that seat is going to want to fight Max. And obviously it starts the whole animosity thing of like, they're not letting him, they're making him a number 2, And then 2, I don't think Checo is doing that bad. If you compare it obviously to our drivers, bottle jobs, but I don't think for what Red Bull's looking for, I don't think there's any sorts of replacement. Do you think he's going to be replaced?
Do I think he's going to be replaced? That's a good question. No. Right. Again, because I don't think the driver market... Look, it really depends on how much of a good season Yuki Tsunoda has, and conversely, the faith they have in De Vries / Lawson to step into AlphaTauri, I guess. Like, do I think Yuki's ready for Red Bull? Do I think Yuki is starting to show promise in that consistency and being able to get the results? Yes. I think that Red Bull second seat, it will kill your career. And I'm almost more mindful. For me, the play for Yuki is to try and stay in F1 as long as possible, so that by the time Honda take over work of Aston Martin, you can potentially go into Aston Martin in 2026. That's the play. Like, to be in a works Aston Martin team as a Japanese driver, driving for Aston Martin, Honda, that for me makes more sense for Yuki Tsunoda than going into Red Bull, being Max's second driver. I read somewhere that Checo is trying to... he was trying to adjust his driving style to mimic Max Verstappen a bit more, so that he can get used to the car and the way it handles a bit more. And I'm like, that's sad. That's sad. That team will break a man, and this is an experienced driver, and they're breaking him. You can see him. It's the same way people used to say this about Bottas. Every year, Bottas will come back. I'm Bottas 2.0. I'm Bottas 3.0. I'm this, that, and the other. And then after 4 or 5 races, Lewis would get into a groove. They'd probably set the car up to be more how he wants it.
Yeah.
And then he'd just pull away. And it will break a man's spirit. For you to sit opposite someone in the same car as you and have that man pulverize you every other business week. So for me, I don't think they'll get rid of Perez.
Yeah.
Yet. I think he's got another year in his contract anyway, so I don't think it's not coming up for. So I don't think that's going to happen now, but he needs to step his pussy up a little bit, respectfully. Like, we need a bit more from him. The last 2 races have been awful. So Canada is technically a street circuit, so I guess we'll see if the king of the streets can get it cracking.
Also, it just feels like Checo, every time Checo becomes a threat, something goes wrong.
Talk that shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like, every time he's like close to something, every time he's like close to doing something, everyone's so excited to see him do something. He's like, oh, he bottled it. And it's like, did he
No,
actually?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let's start asking these questions. So I don't think they're gonna get rid of him because, like, he's happy. He has a seat. He's feeding his family. He gets to win Mexico once in a while. He gets to win Baku every year. That's your end of the deal, you know. Like, we're holding it, but you need to make sure that you stay in your lane. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, no, for sure.
in my head, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, granted, I think it is very much maybe engineerically impossible to administer a car or build a car that is suitable for two drivers. We're seeing with Lewis and George. We've seen it with Bottas and Lewis. We've seen it in many different ways, right? Where drivers are like, oh, he's more comfortable. We've seen it with Carlos and Charles. So I understand that Max is always maybe going to be favorite driver, and maybe Newey is able to bring him more out of Max, but then make sure the car is at a standard where your other driver can also perform. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Bottas was day in, day out in Q3. He was performing when he had to. Sure, he was no Lewis Hamilton, but when he had to deliver, he delivered, right? And he was up front, and you could see he was driving a Mercedes. You could see he was driving a Mercedes, right?
I mean, yes. On the whole,
On
I mean,
the
there was a couple.
whole,
There's a couple of races, but yes, on the whole, he was there.
Bottling is bottling, but like you couldn't say like, oh my gosh, he's not driving that car, because like if Lewis is putting a 17, he's putting a 17. You know, like obviously it's not the same caliber, it's not the same race, it's not the same strategy, but he's doing it. And so for you to see this man, how can your driver do 16.3 and you're struggling to do a 16.5? You know what I'm saying?
That
I don't
can't
know,
be
man.
the case. And I'm pretty sure Perez was on. Oh no, did Max pit after Perez? But either way, you're both on soft tires. Just give it full beans. You should not be. You're not. Your tire deg is nowhere near 3/10 off Max's tire deg. So I just don't think that that's something that he should have been doing. But
Also, if Max was coming from 11th to something, he would have won the race either way.
This is the thing, right? And we're talking about Spain here. 107 overtakes. You've got the final bend where you've got, you know, pretty much in someone's slipstream now for 2 corners before the straight. So you've got all the time in the world to close up to people. You've got a DRS, which they're saying is given 20 kilometers because of how long it is. You've got to do more. You've got to do more, Checo. And it's a shame because he's watching his title kind of. I think the gap is 53 points now. He's watching the title kind of, you know, disappear in front of his eyes. And it's a shame because I think we all, as neutrals, we want that inter-team battle, and that's what makes F1 good. But, you know, we're not, sorry, inter-team battle, we're not going to get that, you know, unless he steps up, or we'll get that inter-team battle where, you know, we'll have 2 teams fighting out. One team who is not going to fight it out with anyone is Ferrari. 2 seconds. Let me just.
Embarrassing.
Let me tell you. No,
I
guys,
feel so
guys.
bad. I
don't feel
so
bad.
You know
Get
what?
these
You
bums
know
out
what?
of it.
You see when you're like, when you see you're a child, right? Listen, you're a child, and you're like, oh mom, can I, like, you're coming back from the pot or something, you ask your mom for like McDonald's on your way back or something like that, or like, oh, whatever chicken you like. And like, okay, and then you fall asleep in the car, so your mom used that as an excuse to just drive past and go home. So when you get home, you wake up and you're like, oh damn, I fucked it. That's what it feels to be a Ferrari fan, because it's like they came out last year, guns blazing. Yeah, we're out here. They have a phenomenal design and they're winning races, and Charles is there, and they just slept. And it would just drive past them. It's actually insane.
It's really bad. I honestly,
really bad.
I'd actually even argue it's like when your mum you like ask your mum, can we get McDonald's? And she's like, no, it's all right, I'll make you McDonald's. And then she tries to make you a McDonald's, and the burger's dry, awful, massive. Like the bread is like that pound bread. It's a bit dry, bit shit. The burger is smaller than the bun. So, you know, like sometimes when girls' toes is popping out over the edge of the heel, that's what the bun's doing to the burger. Like, I'm telling you now, it's the worst burger in the world. That's what's happened. They're telling you we've got upgrades coming. How? I don't think I've ever seen a car be upgraded.
They brought upgrades right now. They brought upgrades right now in Spain.
Yeah.
And
it's gone backwards.
Massive.
It's gone backwards. The car's gone backwards. Like
No,
Michael Jackson moonwalking backwards. What is going on?
No, listen, and this is something that I've been meaning to talk about because I feel like people don't talk about it enough, right? F1 isn't so much of a who got the regulations right sport. I don't see it like that. I feel like once you get the regulations right, it's more about who can actually maintain it, because you need to develop the car, right? Because if F1 was a series where you bring that car and that is the car you need to finish the season with, then you'd be in good hands. But it's not. People are working over winter, maybe not over summer because you can't do that, but over winter, and like you're constantly in the factory just thinking, what can we bring next? What can we do next? And I think with Ferrari, they just haven't nailed their development path, and people aren't having conversations about that. People aren't coming out and saying, well, what's wrong with Ferrari and why are upgrades bringing them backwards? Charles had mechanical failures, right? It's not like, the car isn't really to my liking and it's a setup thing. It was mechanical. His car was just sliding and he was just like trying to hit the left-handed corners and he just goes somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's dangerous, right? And then for you to bring a completely different car, well, completely, it's a different concept of a car, and it doesn't work, and you're changing your whole back end, and you're saying, we actually don't know what's wrong. We just changed the gearbox just in case, and we'll see at the factory what's going on. You don't know what you're doing with your car. Ferrari doesn't know what you know what I'm saying? And I feel like Ferrari was up here because Mercedes, Aston Martin, Alpine, everyone else was down here. So it was like, there's only one team that could actually fight Red Bull. Off the bat is Ferrari. But then if you actually look from that point forward, from Bahrain last year to now, they've only gone backwards every single time. There's always something. And you feel like, there's always excuses for Charles, but it's actually the whole team. It just feels like they don't understand the car that they have. And Red Bull is developing the car that they understand. And Aston Martin has managed to get a development path that they feel like is good. So now they're coming up. Yeah. Mercedes now has decided, okay, let's change the development plan. We know what the development plan is, so this is what we're going to follow. But Ferrari feels like a question mark still. It's like, where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Is this right? Is this wrong? For you to see a mechanical failure? I don't know. Yeah. I just think people aren't talking about it enough.
No, I think you're right. And I think, look, if we look at, even in recent memory, if you look at 2021, how Mercedes had to, they had one big upgrade in Silverstone, which brought them closer to Red Bull. And then essentially they manipulated what they could do in terms of engines. And that kind of brought them closer again from kind of like Brazil onwards. But it's kind of understanding Mercedes have always been able to develop a car throughout the season. It's how they effectively were able to beat Ferrari in 2017 and 2018, especially 2018, when Ferrari was a significantly quicker car for large portions of the season. And I guess as well with Red Bull, we see a team that are able to nail regulations, understand their car, and kind of develop on top of that going forward. And you never really see Red Bull kind of... We haven't in the ground effect area. We haven't seen them drop off the pace from where they are. They've kind of been able to stay where they are. So I think what we're seeing now with Ferrari is a team who, for all pretense and purposes, threw away 2020, 2021 because they were getting ready for 2022. 2022 comes. They've got one of the most beautiful F1 cars I've ever seen in my life. Gorgeous, but is a one-lap merchant. And we saw, and then on top of that, not only is the car a one lap merchant, it eats its tires, so you can't push it for too long.
Yeah.
We go into 2022, and you have strategy issues, and you have development issues, and you have pit issues. So you've got five things there that's wrong. And then we go into this year. Sorry, after you, sorry.
No, I was going to say, do you know what it is also? It's like, and I think I saw someone mention this I don't know if it was a discussion on Twitter that was being had. I don't know. But I saw someone mention the fact that there's no one at Ferrari that's able to develop a car. And if no one said this, I'm going to say it. It just feels like there's no one at Ferrari that's able to call the shots and say, this is what we have to do. This is the direction that we have to take. Or no, this is the strategy that we have to do. Okay, Sainz does that here and there. But then at the end of the day, it feels like they call the shots on top of...
He shouldn't be driving from the car. He should be driving from the car. That's that's all he should be doing. He should be driving the strategy from the car, essentially.
Yeah, and so it just feels like, if you actually think about it, like Charles and Carlos, what experience do you have to bring a championship, out to develop a championship winning car?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any of that experience in there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like in Mercedes, Russell is doing a great job and he's doing this and he's doing that. But there's Lewis and there's someone that has won 7 championships, that knows what a car feels like, that knows where he should be sitting, that knows what he should be feeling in the car. And then Red Bull, I don't know how much Max plays a role in that, but we have Adrian Newey. Like it's Adrian Newey, and every guy that has won a race or a championship was under his car. So there's always these like very significant elements in each team, and I feel like that's what everyone strives to have in every team. Like Aston Martin now picked up Alonso, and like you can have a whole argument around Alonso, but they did pick up a 2-time world champion that there's like this guy's going to help us bring wins and maybe develop a car or whatever. But then you look at Ferrari and like where even leadership, like removing Mattia and then bringing in Fred is like, okay, maybe he knows how to be a team principal, but where do we go from here? Where do we go from, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like Ferrari misses that one element, like that one person, and they don't have that.
No, I think, look, I would 100% agree with you on that. I think they are an outfit, bang. I think they're an outfit which are a bit rudderless. And look, maybe that's going to be what they're trying to do with the poaching of Red Bull staff that we've seen. And obviously, they've got, is it Andres Mikkels? I can't remember his name. Sorry, I probably said his name wrong. But they got the guy with the grey hair going to AlphaTauri, and obviously Ferrari are poaching all manners of people from Red Bull, and they're basically saying you're not going to be able to take this guy unless you let all of the engineers that we're trying to come over leave for 2024. Yeah, so all of that within that, Red Bull really. Ferrari are trying to put that in place, but I think it shows. I don't think I've seen Ferrari this aggressively try and poach people's staff as much as they are now, and I think that's an admission that they're not going to be able to. Wrong. Yeah, they're not going to be able to build, or I think Mattia was very much, I'm going to be able to grow and build this team. As a man who came up through the ranks at Ferrari, we've seen him talking to Schumacher when he was there, so it shows how long he's been there. He obviously wanted to cultivate his own team and bring it up the Ferrari way, but there's obviously been a change of tact, and they want to get people in because for all intents and purposes, Charles and Carlos don't have that experience of building a car.
Do you ever feel like maybe people don't want to go to Ferrari? Because I saw today that Helmut Marko said that it took a lot to convince Christian not to leave Red Bull, and they had to pay him a bit more, because Ferrari wanted Christian Horner, right? So now that you're speaking all of this, I'm seeing that they aren't really opposed to change. They're very quick with, okay, Mattia's not doing a great job, he's out. This guy's not doing a great job, okay, let's try to find new people. But then do you ever think about, like, on the other side of things, like, okay, Nyasha, we need you here because you're a great strategist, and I know you fought for Mercedes for so long, and then you just go, I don't think I want to come to that team because it could be that, because they're not opposed to change and they're not opposed to because bringing a whole new concept so fast as well. Look at how long it took Mercedes, right? So maybe they're not opposed to change. It's just that change doesn't want them. It could be that. It could be that.
Maybe they're not opposed to change, but change doesn't want them. So look, I think that's a really good point. I think Ferrari. I think people forget Ferrari have the most amount of money out of everyone in the sport. They have the biggest budget, and I know we've got the budget cap now, but that doesn't include your top three. It doesn't include drivers and highest paid, right? So they've got money to spend on this situation. The problem is with Ferrari is, look, in theory, Ferrari is the perfect place to work. You are working in Maranello, Italy. Gorgeous area, the most prestigious car company in the world. There is not another car company more prestigious. There's not an F1 team more prestigious than Ferrari. There's not an F1 team with a more loyal fan base than Ferrari. I'm sure there's probably great remuneration package with Ferrari, and you probably get to eat fucking pasta anytime you want. You're in Italy. Those guys fucking. Do you understand?
Didn't Max Verstappen just buy Ferrari as well? His first car or something?
Lewis said the first car he saved up for was a Ferrari. Everyone is a Ferrari fan. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is like on paper the best thing, but you look a little deeper, and the place looks like it's a fucking mess. Chaotic, no strategy, no leadership, no pit crew. It looks like a stressful working environment. Like, genuinely, if I was a talented person, it would take a lot of money for me to uproot my family and go and live in Italy and have to deal with this fucking bullshit, bruv.
Yeah.
So, like, you're right. They probably have tried. They probably have tried to change, but it's just the fact that they've not been able to because it's such a hard job to do given the environment.
It just looks like they don't shower in there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like when someone looks like they don't shower, you just don't. Do you know what I'm saying?
I never said that. That was Deni, FIA girly.
Literally.
She said, I know it smelled crazy in there.
Yeah, and I just feel bad because, like, I was seeing today, like, there's this. Have you seen the Fanatics Ferrari fan page? Like, that's the biggest fan page there is of Ferrari, right? And they have this Charles thing where they put, like, all the mishaps they've had, and I was just like, damn, his downfall before he even rised, whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like he had everything to be, and when he signed that 5-year deal, I was like, oh my gosh, Charles Leclerc, finally, this is the driver, this is who Ferrari needed, this is the guy who's going to absolutely bring it home for us. And obviously they might have had some very good times with Charles that they remember, and the wins at home and all of that. But then when it counts, you don't really have it, and not you as a driver, but like you and the car and you and the team and your strategy, and it just doesn't work, and you don't have that moment of, oh my gosh, it finally came together after everything. Like at least one championship for you to say, oh my gosh, after everything, it actually happened. You know what I'm saying? It's not coming. It's not coming. It's not coming home. It's not coming home. These races just being, do you know what I'm saying? And you had this gap where Lewis Hamilton out of the picture. Forget it, mate. He's not here. You don't have an opponent. All you have to do is make sure that you beat Max Verstappen. Since you're a generational talent, which I believe Charles Leclerc probably is. But you bottled it. And now that Lewis and George are coming up, and now Alonso is coming as well, mate. I don't know.
It's tight. For my man still. I'm not gonna lie.
So he didn't even take off. He just straight. And I feel like there's no one else to blame besides that institution. And like, if you see a driver like Charles having that downfall before he's even at the top, you don't want to go there. Trust me. Trust and believe you don't go there.
Do you think Lewis saw those guys this weekend, and they were like, "Look, I'm talking to Toto Wolff on Monday. Look at this shit sorted. Stop putting my name with these guys. I'm better than
you
these
guys
man."
are bored. He said you guys are bored.
Unbelievable.
Charles, currently P7 in the F1 Drivers' Championship.
Oh my god.
You're not gonna come. You're not gonna come up from P7 to winning a championship. It's not gonna happen.
Why, he's not going to come from... Even if he was in P2, he was not going to win the championship this year. Like, that Ferrari's nowhere near the Red Bull. And for them to have fallen backwards when Red Bull have taken a step forwards, it's crazy. In a cost cap era as well. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get on to Stars of the Day and Donkeys of the Day. But let's do that after we hear these messages. Some more adverts. Yay!
Adverts!
Right.
Love some ads.
Love some ads. Can't get enough of them things there. Do you want to go first? Who was your Spanish Grand Prix Star of the Day?
Can I have two?
Of course you can. Tandy's not here, so you can take hers.
Okay, my star of the day was first Lewis Hamilton, just because he drove an amazing race. I feel like management is also very important when you're driving a race and you don't have the fastest car. He did amazing. He managed his tires well. For him to still do what he's capable of doing in a car that probably isn't set up for that. You know what I'm saying? His race was great. He's my GOAT. He's my driver. So he got star of the day for me. And soon as I saw Checo was winning, because I think Vincenzo was the one who posted, either him or someone posted that Checo was winning by like 2%. I saw that. I saved it on my phone. I wanted to tweet if I was like, you know what, Deni, don't be bitter. I just copied the link and I was like, vote for Lewis. And then everyone started voting. And I think that picture did rounds and everyone voted for driver of the day. So I was so happy he got it. Just because also we were needing that from Team LH. I think, great. Oh my gosh, Mercedes 2,
we needed
P3.
We needed that. Like, honestly, watching Lewis... You know what? It's crazy because I think that's why on Friday we're just so used to disappointment. So when the car was not good on Friday, we all just got in our own heads and we were like, "Oh my god, this car's crap. The upgrades aren't working. Lewis doesn't look happy in the car." But you know what? I'm a man, okay, who will admit when he's been harsh on someone. Okay, I'm a man who will happily go back on things he's said and give praise where it's due. So, old Blue Eyes, Mickey Schumacher, you bootcut wearing, lovely young man, so polite. Like, honestly, Lewis said the work you did in the sim on Friday helped push the car forward. And if it wasn't for you, and then you flew in, so, you know, not only you're working late, then you have to fly in, probably tell the drivers face to face, give that feedback. Here's me thinking you're just there to take photos, but you're there actually putting in some good work. I don't think I've heard Lewis praise a reserve driver or sim driver for a while. In fact, the last time he mentioned the sim driver was when he was saying the sim was not correlating with what they were doing on track, and that's why he's actually had to start doing a lot more work in the sim. So for him to mention the sim work that was not done by him in a positive way, I think means a lot. So I think that's good. If Mick Schumacher is helping with the development of this car to get it to where we are now, I think you can only praise him. And I think we deserve that as Team LH to have that result that we had this weekend, to see the car overtake other cars, to see Lewis fighting, getting comfortably into second, managing his race well. The strategy was on point. The pace was on point. and we got our luck. You know, there was no stupid safety cars. But you know what? Actually, if there was a stupid safety car that kind of came halfway through the race and whatever messed up the order, I felt like we would have had the pace to overtake people from the safety car. Yeah. And I think that I'm no longer scared of rogue safety cars.
Right. Once we overtook Sainz, I was like, okay, done deal. That's it. Because when Sainz was like, oh, can we cover Checo? I was like, he's not talking about the Mercedes anymore, you know? These lot would normally be like, oh my gosh, talk to me about George. Can I still get that P3? He's talking about P4 in the Ferrari. I was so happy, and that is what solidified for me. Obviously, it's Spain, it's our track. Everyone does well that, but like for me, it just solidified so much because like the car's not draggy. These lot are they have a high downforce rear wing. If you know, you know how high downforce rear wing was shitting on us last year. Everyone was like, remember the chainsaw that they didn't even have a proper wing. They just cut the wing and they were like, oh, this should work. It was still draggy. Right now, we're running high downforce and we're like obliterating these people. I'm happy. My driver's happy. Yeah. I'm happy. He said, this is the best the car's ever felt in the past year and a half. Do you know how long that is? A year and a half.
We're back! Okay, I'm tired of being humble. I'm not being humble anymore.
I'm so done.
All of you man there at home, you really enjoyed yourself when we were down. You man were eating good. You man were acting like we were never gonna come back. You tried calling my driver finished. Are you dumb? Are you dumb? You know my driver's the GOAT, greatest of all time, 103 wins. 103 poles. Don't piss me off. Sorry, Deni.
I want to confess something, right? So, was it last year? I don't know where it is, but this tweet has been sitting for so long. I tweeted something like, oh, you guys are going to cry when my driver started in front row with your driver. It never came. He never started front row. Never. I've been waiting for that day.
Do you know what I mean?
I've been waiting to go back to that tweet and be like, I've told you so. I waited a whole season. I'm waiting. I'm still waiting. He almost got P2 right now, and then he qualified P5. I'm still waiting. Do you know how starved we've been? As Team LH? Oh, it's crazy.
Literally starving. I'm ravishing.
I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired.
Look, okay, I have to eat shit on Twitter every day. I have to eat shit Twitter. I have to eat shit in these fucking comments. I have to eat shit on fucking TikTok. I'm enjoying today, okay? Let me tell you that now. So many times, bro, I have to come on this podcast. You can't even
criticize a driver. Me on my Twitter, I usually can't even say something about a driver because someone will comment, oh, where did your driver finish? And it's usually like, PA or something like that. It's so sad. We're up there. We're up right now. Trust and believe. We're up.
We are up. Oh my God. Mario just fucking reminded us that the last Lewis Hamilton win was Sunday the 5th of December 2021 in Jeddah. And the thing is, I hear a lot of Team LH this, Team LH that. Do you know what I mean? All you have is Team LH in your mouth. That's all you can do, okay? But let me tell you now, Lewis Hamilton better not win a race in front of a Red Bull this year. Let me tell you that now. Your car better not break down, and all you've got is a flimsy little Checo Perez to defend yourself from winning every race this season. You better hope that car stays in good nick. You better hope better hope your driver doesn't try doing a practice start from the arse end of the pit lane and get a penalty or some shit. Because, crazy things happen. That's what happened to us in 2020. We could have won every race. And then what stopped us from winning races? A rando, actually, to be fair, Lewis would have, I think Bottas won that race anyway, to be fair. But, random, that Monza. The random thing in Monza where Lewis Hamilton started, didn't see that it was a safety. The pit lane was closed, and so there was a safety car, and then he went behind everyone, and Gasly ended up winning. Bahrain, when Mercedes fitted the wrong tyres on George Russell, then they fitted new tyres on him, and then he got a puncture. They would have won that race. And I think that was the third race that a puncture, right? And then I think that was the third race we didn't win, where it was like weird circumstances. That might happen to Red Bull, okay? We've got 22 races this year. We've only had 7.
Oh, yeah. So, when does the Bahrain curse starts kicking in again?
We need some kind of curse. Some kind of curse needs to happen. But honestly, when you guys are not ready for when Lewis Hamilton wins, because that you think the timeline is bad now.
It stinks now. Just wait until all the niggas are out. We're outside.
Outside? You don't want that.
We outside.
You don't want that.
We don't want that. When they call you and ask who we are, tell them we're outside.
Yeah. Tell them. Don't need no GPS. Okay, tell me.
Do you know what it is? Now that you said, wait. Now that you said GPS, just really quickly, our GPS hasn't been working. You know, every time Lewis asked for something, one was like, "Oh, can't tell from the GPS." So I don't know what's going on with that. But Mercedes needs to fix. Mercedes people, if you're listening to this podcast, fix your GPS, please, because that's been stressing me.
Yes, fix the GPS. Civil play for Lewis. Lewis deserves good GPS. Right, so who was your second driver of the day?
My second driver of the day is George. I think a P3 under those circumstances, he really deserves some praise. He deserves some praise. He really does. He's so
George
good.
So much, and I hate having to hide it because half of the fan base hate him. And I get
That's
it.
how I feel as well. That's how I feel.
I get it. I can't openly say it, but I love him so much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I really liked about George this race was when he was like. And they're like, not bad, George. Was like, oh, not bad. And it's like, he's got a little praise kick. He just wants to be told he looks good. Do you know what I mean? Daddy, did I do well?
Did I do well? And I feel like he's doing so well. He's doing so well. It just so happens that, like, you're going against the most successful driver. Like, you're going against the one person that, like, you can't go against on paper. Do you know what I'm saying? But he's doing so well, and he's carrying himself so well as well. And when circumstances aren't great, he just makes the most out of it. And I feel like as a team, like Mercedes, like, okay, Team LH first before we're at Mercedes. But, like, as a team, you want that. You know what I'm saying? You want someone that's going to pick up the slack when you can't. And I'm happy. And I love that. And I love that he got that P3 from 12th. Checo could have done that. Couldn't have done that.
It couldn't. And look, and I think there's one thing that we always kind of said about Valtteri was that when he did qualify out of position, his kind of tenacity in coming back through the grid was always found wanting a little bit. And I think there was results left on the table that we could have got, which we didn't get. You know, if you remember, Imola 2021, him messing around with back markers there. And I think there's a few other races where that's why I ended up crashing with George in the end, which I obviously didn't introduce him very well to the Mercedes family. But I think with George, I've got no worries about George if he qualifies out of position, bringing that car through and maximising the result. And I think for us to have a double podium in a race where both Red Bulls finished the race, both Ferraris finished the race, and both Aston Martins finished the race. Testament to the team, of course, but I think testament to the drivers, considering they both had to make up places to get to where they got to. It's not like they started in second and third and they maintained it. We started in fifth and 12th. So I think to turn a fifth and 12th into a second and third is really good testament to the drivers, and I'm really proud of the team. Absolutely. I'm proud to be a Mercedes fan again. I'm so happy to just be happy on this podcast. Oh my God.
I'm just glad George isn't scared of taking places and taking what he deserves. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like with Bottas, we didn't have that aggressive driver. He was like, please, can I pass? And George's like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And he looks like a small, like, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I'll take that. Thanks.
Yeah, well, it's actually probably like it's very. I think it's a George. It's not even like I'll take that. Thanks. It's like, oh, if you don't mind, I'm just going to take that off you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's mine. You can't
just,
play with that.
George is like when they offer English people like a biscuit. Yeah, offer English people like a biscuit with a tea, and they're like, oh, don't mind if I do. I do like that's. Yes, George. I love you. I love you so much.
No, we're having too much fun in this pod.
Oh my god, that was so good. If I was to do a second drive of the day, actually don't. I mean, look, the Alpines did well. I think. You know. What I will say is small shout out to Lando Norris for qualifying in third. Mm-hmm. That was a good qualifying lap.
Yeah.
I don't really attribute a lot of blame to him on the first corner incident with Lewis. Like, you can see Lewis is effectively changing lanes, trying to get the switch back on Carlos. He can't really see that Lando's got his nose in there. I don't think Lando could really predict that was going to happen, and he's ended up getting damaged, and then his car's not quick enough to make it up. But I do think he deserves praise for putting the car in third. So I think that's good. Donkeys.
Stroll also deserves some praise.
Oh, right. I will give his stuff. Did you see that interview?
It doesn't have to be quick. Just to mention him. It doesn't have to be long. Just, I think he's been really good. I'll qualify. Okay, granted, Fernando probably had damage and stuff like that, but he's been doing well. He's been doing well.
He did all right yesterday. Yeah, I was more interested in his interview with Viaplay. I think Lance is all of us dealing. It's just like dealing with any, like, respectfully, you know. Obviously,
we're friends.
Due to certain circumstances, we don't have a great relationship with the Dutch population on this podcast, and I feel like Lance is all of us. I'm just kind of done with you, man. Just be like, respectfully. There's like Dutch people who listen to this. I love you guys. Just not the ones that abuse us and say nasty things, of which there are a lot. But he was just like, oh, why did you do that? Huh? Every time I watch it,
the basic expression.
Cause we're friends.
Friends, his face expressions kill me, and he doesn't hide his disgust. He's like, "What the fuck are you asking me? Are you insane?"
They were like, "Oh, Fernando Alonso didn't overtake you. Did you talk about that?" And he's like, "Why didn't you ask him about that? He's just over there. Why didn't you ask him about that?" And the way he points at him. Oh my god, Lance is the funniest guy. Oh my god.
I love him.
I love that guy so much.
I love him.
He's just so sick of that. He's like, I just don't want to. I don't want to be here. I don't want to listen to your questions.
And I love because he's like so spoiled, and like that just adds to his persona of like, this is Daddy's boy. You can't touch him. He's allowed to say whatever he wants. And you're like, okay, sorry.
Why didn't you ask him that? Oh my god.
He's right there.
Ask him that. He's right there.
Your face is killing me.
I'm literally gonna make Lance's face when he asks, like, when he goes, huh? That is gonna be the thumbnail. Like, it's too funny. So donkey of the day. Who is your donkey of the day?
Ferrari. Yeah. Sorry. I understand your car has problems, but you change the whole gearbox, and then for what? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm starting for the pit, all the way in the pit lane for what? I can't even make places. He didn't even overtake like Alpine, Gasly, Ocon. Do you know what I'm saying? At least finish below Aston Martin or something. And I mean Leclerc, by the way.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
And also like the whole, can we please box for softs? And like, okay, box. We're going for hards, by the way. What is that? How do you communicate to your driver? Is that how you speak to your driver? Is that how you let him know that you're doing something? Like, you don't even, we're thinking hards because we're seeing progress in hards, or because this and that. And like, also, the hards were shit, first and foremost.
They used the hards twice. So it was so bad, they got rid of them after 17 laps. They put some softs on. And they said, you know what? I need to run that back. Do you know what I mean? I need to run that back. I need
Just
that
to
whole
make
thing
sure.
back. Yeah, just double check that these are as shit as they were the first time. Unbelievable. Like, I just don't.
Do you know when you know your man's cheating on you all the time, and you're like, oh yeah, but he treats me so well. Do you know what I'm saying? What is that?
I mean, didn't even treat you that well, really. In retrospect, you know, he might have like given you his McDonald's voucher off the back of his bus ticket every now and then. But was he really treating you that well? Like,
Also,
you know,
they put him on hards on like 60 laps to go. Who does that? Why would you do that?
on it. I just don't understand. The soft and mediums are right there. Like, I just don't understand.
Also,
Even if it was
like,
a scrub
it
set.
just feels like they're in a race of their own, because I know from watching every other driver and like listening to their radios, everyone goes, oh yeah, we're seeing people are struggling on the hards, we're seeing people are struggling on the soft, so maybe that's not the best tire.
Yeah.
Turn this on. You know what I'm saying?
It's your brain.
Look at everyone else. What's going on? Are you not reading that? Is it too fast? Is the teleprompter going too fast for you? What's going on?
Yeah,
See, Max
honestly,
has been struggling on the hard. Bro, it pissed me, it vexed me, pissed me off. I don't care.
Honestly, the name, like, my whole life I've grown up, and Xavi has been, like, one of the best football midfielders in the world. Like, it is associated with greatness. And every time I hear the name Xavi, like, he hates that guy.
Here we go again.
He hates it. Just checking. Like, Xavi, if Johnny had 3 apples. I feel like if I asked Xavi, like, if Johnny had 3 apples, he'd just be like, just checking.
Nah, that man's freestyling. He does not care.
Honestly, I feel like Xavi lied on his job application. Like, I feel like Xavi, like, I don't know if he actually has
experienced strategist.
Yeah. I think who was this? You know, when you put your boy down as a reference, and they call your boy like, I've got this guy called Xavi here. He says he's got 20 years as an F1 engineer. Oh yeah, Xavi was a great F1 engineer for me. Yeah, top guy, hiring.
He didn't even want to leave. You know, I had to offer millions to leave.
I didn't want to let him go.
Your boy. I didn't want to let him go. You're trying to sell your boy so bad.
Oh my god!
Hook me up, man. If they call, hook me up. I got you. They're gonna hire you on the spot, bro. Ooh,
oh my god!
Nah, man.
Do you know, sometimes it's like when honestly, he deserves more. My donkey of the day. I've got something I'd like to read out. My donkey of the day is Fernando Alonso.
Oh.
Purely for this fact. So I saw some F1 fan fiction before the race started 3 days ago. It's not fan fiction. It's just
it's 33. The 33. Go off.
1,086 F1 races. The hashtag Spanish Grand Prix would be Alonso's 362nd starts. That is exactly 1/3, 33.3% of all races. It is the 33rd race at this circuit. He has garage and pit box number 33. He is going for his 33rd win. 10 years since his last. And he's on home soil. Have the stars aligned?
The star said nope.
The star said, get the fuck out of here! Don't piss me off! Are you crazy? Do you know the only thing that came out 33? Mercedes came out with 33 points on your head. Don't piss me off. Lewis Hamilton dunking on you on your home track. Oh my God. George Russell dunking on you on your home track. I think someone, let me put that in the chat so Chris has got that. I think, honestly, seeing Fernando Alonso absolutely bottled that was incredible. I mean, the whole saying that he won't pass Stroll, he is like Fernando Alonso. You cannot trick me, okay? I know who you are, okay? You might have all these other people fooled you. Do you know what, yeah? You know when you see someone you know, like on Twitter, and they're like, all it's like, peace and love and light, you know, I just want the best for all people. And you know, the person behind that Twitter account is an absolute prick. Like, you're a nasty person. Fernando Alonso, you are not, you can't. In what world are you just saying, like, you have like a 1 to 2/10 like advantage in pace over your teammate, and you're like, oh, you know, it doesn't matter if 6th or 7th, 7th or 6th, it doesn't matter. Like, you think that we can see that you're just, I'm all about the team, I'm all about the team. Your mask will slip. And when your mask slips, let me tell you, in the words of Kylian Mbappe, I will be there. No matter what.
I will be there. I will be there.
No matter what. What did you think of Fernando refusing to overtake Lance?
I don't care, honestly.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't care. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. I feel like these or there's actually a Stroll clause. Yeah, Mario, like, maybe there is a Stroll clause, and he's like, oh my gosh, wait, by the way, just letting you know, I'm just trying to get a bit of cushion here, whatever he was trying to get at, but
the only Stroll clause he's trying to get is an extra contract out of his dad. I've never seen someone suck up to someone so much. The man said, I won't even lay a finger on your son. I love you so much. Please give me another contract. Get the fuck out of here, bro. Honestly, you cannot trick me. When it all goes to shit, and believe me, if anything, as sure as night is day, there are 3 things guaranteed in this life: death, taxes, and Fernando Alonso absolutely fucking it up at a team he's in. Let me tell you now, he's gonna do it, and when he does do it, I will be there. Anyway, that's my donkey of the day. I will be there. Who was your donkey of the day?
I said Ferrari. You want me to give another donkey?
Ferrari. No. You know what? My other donkey. Quickly, what did you think of Yuki Tsunoda's penalty?
I didn't like that. What was that? What was that about? I didn't like that. Because that man, listen, Yuki Tsunoda has been fighting for his life, showing the driver that he is, showing his racecraft, coming from like 15th into the points for people to just F his race up like that. But do you know what it is? And it's not even like, even if he had pushed him, bro, like, it wasn't even like a, oh my gosh, you don't have space type of thing and I want to gain an advantage. It was fair racing. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you could have just let that or something like that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Yuki believes that Zoe was pretending, because I did notice there was some space. He could have just done a little something. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe because there is a runoff area that you need to go. Like, if you leave the track in Spain specifically, you kind of have to go around. So maybe because of that, he did have to respect that going around. So I understand that he couldn't just rejoin. But 5 seconds. Don't piss me off. I didn't like that. I thought that was bullshit. I can't lie. I was so proud of Yuki, and like to see him drop all the way.
Well, in Joe's defence, he said, and I quote, "It was the right call by the stewards because I had a run with the DRS, was heading and braking so behalf of the car, at least into the corner, and then the next thing I saw was him releasing the brakes and forcing me fully off track." I mean, look, my thing is, if that was gravel, there, Zhou has a decision whether he stays in that or he, much like as we've seen in Austria, right? Where people have been crowded to the outside in Austria and there's gravel and you have to make a choice. Like, am I staying here or am I going back out? And I think that there has to be a point where you can't half commit to a move and then be like, okay, fuck it, I'm just going to go down the escape road. And then
hope for a penalty.
Someone gets that's for me. I just felt that I get why that's why the escape road is there, and we're keeping cars in the race and we're not damaging cars, but that felt a bit too harsh. And for me, I think 5 seconds for that. I think like a black and white flag maybe to say if they thought it was bad, don't do it again. But I don't think it was. Sorry. Oh, did he sneeze it?
That's okay.
I don't think it was so bad that it warranted a penalty at all. So those are my thoughts on that. I do think it was a bit harsh. Let me read some of everyone's tweets from this day. Who said what? So we have Albon Enjoyer at Jeff1 said, how did the race manage to have 107 overtakes and still be mid at best? I do think what I will say is, I do think that F1, if they want to keep everyone, we're going to have some fighting for the lead, because as much as maybe, I'm not saying, Jeff1, you're not a purist or whatever, but as much as people, maybe like me and you, can enjoy something coming, from lower down and stuff like that, if we've not got a race for the lead, which is ultimately racing is about winning, I do think they are going to start to lose fans. So, yeah. Asaf Sagi says, Donkey, plainly, McLaren aren't going to be champions. Quick thoughts on McLaren and I guess Lando's predicament at McLaren. That was a question to you.
Oh, me. Sorry. Honestly, we'll see it. They came ground running, shit car. And does McLaren have the capacity of developing a car back up? No, they don't. And I feel like this is the time that maybe they would have used a Daniel Ricciardo. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, not that he is the greatest of all time, but there is some experience in there. You now have two drivers that have never won a race before, that don't know what it's like to be at the front. You have two drivers that don't have probably the aggressiveness to be able to climb up from P20 all the way up. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're stuck with them now because they are the ones who need to develop that car. And how are you going to do that? Now you're going to try, you're going to try and find people from outside inwards because you need help. How did Oscar Piastri go from 10th to 13th?
The car is bad. I actually have a comment here from someone who says, this is Glenn Dreads at Glenn Dreads says, is it time for Lando to consider other options? I mean,
I guess.
Yeah. But, really, until his contract ends.
The thing about young drivers is if you don't have that experience, you need a team that's able to develop a car. George, for instance. George in Williams did great, but he was never going to bring the Williams to mid-level. You know what I'm saying? Did you see that Williams flaw?
Yeah.
Did you see that Williams flaw? Obviously, they don't have the capacity, or the cost cap also doesn't help. But they also don't have drivers that are able to say, let's draw a 3D shaped flaw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You need that bit of experience in you. You even need a team that knows how to win, that can bring a car to you and says, okay, here you go. Go do the things that you know how to do. And then you build that XP on that. Or you need a driver that knows what they're doing. And Norris at the moment is just sitting in a no man's land, just waiting for McLaren to bring something that's probably going to get them up there, and he just doesn't have that.
There you go. Do you think Red Bull take him over Checo? Mario's asked. No. Next question. Not yet. I don't think so. Not yet. But maybe in a couple of years, if Checo's still bad and they want that kind of inter-team battle, but that could be a dangerous situation. Look, we've seen what happened with Mercedes. It could get from bad to worse. Well, it could go from friendship to not friendship if they're fighting for titles. And Lando has shown that he can fall out with people. So, yeah. Lisa at Check the T just says, talk about Alonso's stinker at his home race and how the whole of F1 media were hyping him up the whole weekend. I hope you enjoyed that section, Lisa, because let me tell you, I enjoyed that too. There's a lot of Norris and Perez for Donkey of the Days here. You guys really not. What I would say is... yeah, unfortunately, a lot of poo signs, and then Checo. One more from Miss Tejota Peluquero. That's a lovely name. They say, does anyone know if Ben Sulayem was fussing at Sir Lewis Hamilton for spraying him and the other FIA staff on the Spanish GP podium? That's what it looked like, but I could just be, in the words of Carlos Sainz, inventing. Did you hear them in the cool-down room? And Lewis is like, "Are you getting on it?" And I think he was talking about spraying Ben Sulayem. And George was like, "Yeah, I'm not going home tomorrow night. I'm probably going to stay in Barcelona." And they were like, no, we're not talking about. George thought he was getting the invite on a night out. He said, "I'm going out to dinner with Shakira. Oh my God, I can't wait. I can't wait." And it was just like, "No, calm down. Table's good for six.
It's not there yet.
No, it's not there yet. No. We got Daniel Caesar on the table. Sorry, bro. You can't quite. Oh, bless him. But yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you cannot do that at all, man.
I don't know if he was fussing at Lewis. I can't lie.
I don't know that. I hope he was. And to be fair, I think it's very cheeky of Lewis if he did do that to essentially get the guy who's been the guy who was going to be like terrorizing you for all of the fucking the crap report they done for Abu Dhabi, the jewelry stuff, all of them things there, and then if I had a bottle of champagne, then I would do that as well.
But they're friends anyway, so maybe they had a cheeky laugh after. Ben Soleil,
Ben and
Lewis. Yes,
they're friends.
That's what they say. They text on WhatsApp. That's what
that is true, actually. That's what, yeah. They said, "I've texted him loads of times."
Maybe not friends, but they're mates. They're mates. They have each other's numbers, Mates. So maybe they had a cheeky laugh after he sent a sticker or something. I'm staying an extra night, so why not? George really thought.
He really thought. I told you. He really thought. I just want to give a shout out to Daisy Dove Dawn at Daisy Dove Dawn, who I had said that I was going to let some gunshots ring off for SD Bestie's podium, and I never did. So for all of the SD Bestie crew out there, this is for Monaco. Don't piss me off. Huh? Podium. Okay. There you go. All of the sound effects for SD Bestie. Look. This has been an hour and a half of pure carnage. So let's round it off. Thank you for coming on the show. You have been an incredible guest. Thank you for holding it down with me. And I much appreciated. Where can people find you online?
People can find me on Twitter at FIA Girly.
There you go. We'll leave it down there. If you want to find her, that's where she is. Look, incredible race updates, insights, news, translations from foreign places. I'm proud to say I only have like 3 or 4 accounts on notifications. You are one of them. So thank you for enriching. Yeah, you are. So thank you for enriching my F1 life a lot more and allowing me to stay up to
Thank you.
date. So for sure, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and we'll get you on again at some point in the future.
Thank you so much.
And let's give you a cheering yay for you. Also, whilst I'm here, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your lovely comments for the podcast, where we are neither Tandy or I were present this weekend for the Spanish Grand Prix post-qualifying podcast. Thank you so much to Mario and Tasha for holding it down so much, Chris for holding it down in the post edit and getting everything uploaded. It's crazy to think that we're at the stage in the podcast where I don't have to be there, Tani doesn't have to be there, and we can still put out content for you guys. I hope you appreciate it. I listened back to the podcast and it was an incredible show. So thank you so much to Tasha and Mario. That was some incredible work. Very funny, very insightful. I saw one comment, I was like, very calm, and I was like, okay, well, thank you. I do understand when I'm on the show and maybe I'm not as calm, but I can't help myself. But no, thank you to the team. I'm super grateful for you both. And super grateful for you at home. If you've got this far, it means you must like us. And if you're not subscribed, then what are you doing? Pardon me, my voice is going. Wow, I have definitely been at a wedding this weekend. If you like it, if you've got this far, make sure to leave a like and subscription on this video. Smash that like button and subscription, and maybe even the little notification bell as well, ding, so you know when we upload. Look, we're uploading like 3 times a week now, so make sure you know as soon as we upload. Make sure if you are listening on Spotify to give us a 5-star review. We have now got to, on the road to 500 reviews, we have got to a clean 479. Only 21 more reviews needed for Spotify for us to get to 500. So if you are listening, please slap a 5-star review on Spotify, Apple Podcast review. If you want an ad-free stream, you can go on Patreon for that. We'll read some reviews at some point. I keep meaning to do that, but I forget because I have the memory of a goldfish, but we'll do that soon. So please, if you haven't left an Apple Podcast review, leave a podcast review and we'll read the next batch of podcast reviews on the next show. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. Take care of yourself. Remember, no matter what life throws at you, keep it on the black stuff. Until next time. And also, just quickly, we're back! Don't piss me off! Don't piss me off! I told you, man! We're back! Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So, here's a link to subscribe to the Quick Stop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.